Russia is continuing to attack critical infrastructure all across Ukraine. That's left millions without basic essentials like electricity, heat, and running water. Our correspondent Pani Fachar reports from the town of Ukrainka, 50 kilometers from Kiev. People there are preparing for the next blackout.
Vladislav is proud of this wood stove. He built it during the war. Last week he had to use it for the very first time.
We were getting ready for winter, and we expected that there will be an outage at some point, or shelling on critical infrastructure.
Vladislav and his neighbors in Ukrainka near Kyiv turned their garage into shelters. They are building fireplaces in case the energy supply goes down again, like last week when Russia hit roughly 1/3 of Ukraine's electricity and heating infrastructure. Many parts of the country, including Ukrainka, were plunged into darkness.
People in this town are now struggling to find alternative means to power and heat their homes before winter and possibly more blackouts arrive.
Nobody here believes that the war will end anytime soon, and many feel helpless.
How can I prepare for this if everything I use runs on electricity? When it is minus 20 degrees and there's no power in this cold weather, this will be really bad. I have blankets and some food that does not need to be cooked.
City officials have said they will buy generators. Tatiana Kucher, an activist here, says there's not enough money to supply everyone.
This is our call to save energy.
She has taken to social media to advise people what to do.
We will tell people how to decrease consumption in peak hours. You must switch off the stove, the kettle, the heater, the boiler, and the washing machine. That way you can save electricity and avoid a blackout.
Vladislav can afford a generator, and he's stocked up on food. Unlike many of his fellow citizens, he's better prepared. He's more worried about others.
Our problems here, they're not even close to the problems on the front line. That's why we mostly don't think about ourselves. We think about our grannies, our grandpas, pensioners, and the guys in the battlefield.
No one here knows exactly what winter will bring, but everyone wants to make it through.
The head of Ukraine's nuclear agency has accused Russia of kidnapping senior staff at the Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant. Russian President Vladimir Putin ordered his government to take formal control of the plant earlier this month. The facility is located near the front line in a southern Ukrainian region that has been illegally annexed by Moscow. Zaporizhzhia is Europe's largest nuclear power plant and has been shelled numerous times since the Russian invasion. Attacks on infrastructure have caused power outages, as reported in the region, sparking fears of a shutdown at the plant. The UN's nuclear watchdog, the IAEA, has repeated calls for the establishment of a safety zone around the nuclear power plant. DW caught up with the head of the agency, Rafael Grossi, and asked him for his assessment of the situation at the facility.
The situation is really dangerous. We assess it as really precarious, and it does require the prompt establishment of a protection zone around it, which is something I have been working on for weeks now.
How big is the risk that we could see another Chernobyl there?
Well, I don't know if the comparison with Chernobyl is appropriate, since Chernobyl had a number of very typical characteristics of the plant that it was. In this case of Zaporizhzhia, it's a much bigger plant. It's a nuclear reactor which is operating. So the risks of it being attacked or its power supply being interrupted in a way that could lead to a nuclear accident is quite high.
You have been pushing for a safe zone around the Zaporizhzhia power plant. How much progress have been made on this matter, and what are Russia's and Ukraine's conditions for a safe zone?
Well, I have been setting out the general conditions for such a zone to be established. We are at the stage of negotiating. So what I can tell you is that both sides have agreed to work with me, so I hope we'll be able to make progress pretty soon.
You held talks with Vladimir Putin last week to talk about this safe zone. What's your takeaway from this?
My main takeaway is that the President of the Russian Federation said that he was ready to work with the IAEA. That is already, and by itself, a good starting point.
Do you believe Putin will use nuclear weapons in this conflict?
Well, I don't have any indication that that would be the case, so I hope he doesn't.
Thank you very much, Mr. Grossi.
Thank you. My pleasure.